Hey guys, it's Mike G here, and welcome to another episode of Mornings with Mike, your 5-minute dose of motivation and accountability for the day to help you live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life. Guys, welcome to another show. I'm so happy you are here, and I cannot wait to dive into today's show because it's one that I believe has definitely affected my life many times over, and probably yours as well. And let's just go ahead and dive right into it. Today, what are we chatting about? And here it is. It's all about managing expectations. So let me go ahead and repeat that. Managing expectations. And it's something that, expectations, let's talk about that first things first. How many times have we expected something and what we expected didn't happen? And how many times has that let us down? I can't speak for you guys, but for myself, oh man, that's happened so many times, both personally, professionally, even physically, where I, trained and I was expecting, to finish my run in this time, and, another time happened, or I was expecting, certain clients to do this and they ended up doing that, which again, my expectations weren't what I thought they'd be. And I was completely, just thrown for a loop because my expectations weren't met, or whatever it may be. Even from a financial standpoint, it could be like you invest in something, it doesn't go your way, and it's like, oh my god, I totally thought I was gonna crush it, have this over here, and this was gonna happen. So how many times have we been let down because of our expectations? So that's why today we're conversing about managing expectations. And I can even chat about my own, let me share a personal story with you about myself when it comes to expectations. My expectation when I first created, and again, I always go back to, things that I can relate with. And for me, it was like, when I first created my business, my Goncalves.com, more specifically, Entrepreneur Fitness Academy, where I dumped my time, energy, and effort for 8-9 months, solid months of just really putting everything I had into this program. And when I put it out there, my expectation was like, man, I gave everything to this thing. It's going to attract everyone that I wanted to attract. It's going to really dominate, the marketplace as far as, this thing over here for entrepreneurs, something that's never been done before. And when it came out, my expectations weren't what they weren't met, because like when you give everything to something, you think, oh, it's going to be this, and it wasn't necessarily that. So, it was disappointing. It was disheartening. Like, man, what's going on here? So I've come to learn that it's like, well, it's all about, we only get disappointed when our expectations are high, when they're not managed. So how do we, what do we do? How do we manage expectations so we're not let down? Number one, I would say, guys, number one out of the gate is assuming things are going to happen. And that's one of the things I did when I created the program, where I had conversations with, potential buyers and clients that were going to take part in Entrepreneur Fitness Academy. And I assumed, because they liked what I was creating, I assumed that they would buy, that they would be part of it. And whose fault is that for assuming? That was mine, right? If I really wanted to, I could have asked, hey man, if you're really serious about this and you're really enjoying it, can you go ahead and reserve your spot with your credit card and pay for the program right now? That way, I wouldn't assume they would take part in it. They would just right then and there, you ask them, hey, be a part of it. So I could have managed my expectations that way. So number one, for you and I, let's not assume anything, because assumption is the quickest way to get ourselves in trouble. So number one way to manage expectation is to not assume. And number two is just to be very clear with ourselves. More importantly than anything, with ourselves, as far as like what we can expect. What's reasonable to expect. And I even hate the word reasonable, because it's like, well, you can expect what you want to expect. Why not think big? And I understand that and I respect that. But if we think too far outside, then it's almost like we're setting up. We don't want to set ourselves up for disappointment, and that's the quickest way to be disappointed, when we think it's going to be this and it's nowhere near that. So I always say this: the way we can put that into more practical terms, it's like, hope for the best, plan for the worst. And you guys have probably heard that. Hope for the best. Of course, we're always going to be hoping for the best and be optimistic and be positive about positive results, whether it's weight loss, financial, career, relationships, whatever it may be. Of course, we're going to hope for the best always. That said, we're also taking the time to plan for the worst, because if you do that, you're planning for the worst. So if nothing else, man, if something other than the worst happens, you're winning. We're winning. Our expectations are more than met. So we'll never let ourselves down that way. So that's the quickest, best, most fastest, effective way to manage expectations to, number one, no assuming, and number two, being clear about what we want, what we see to be a reasonable expectation to have. And again, that's lastly, hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's today's message, guys, on managing expectations. Hope it helps. All the best. And until next episode, you're awesome. Cheers.